I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. In fact, we're going to be talking about something that we should all have our mind on, and that is because if you've been looking at my website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight is Less is More. And why is that? It is because, maybe it's because it's tax time and we could all be feeling a little poorer as we get ready to pay our taxes, or as we've already done that. But the reason why less is more, and why that should be the focus of your attention this week, I hope, is because there is a very harsh T-cross among the four fixed signs. And so there's the four fixed signs are Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. And the T-cross means that there are planets in 3 of those signs, and there's 4 of those planets. So today we have the moon, which is in Leo, and Leo is a fixed sign ruling pleasure and fun and love affairs and sports and children and possibly expensive things, because Leo rules extravagance. And that moon in Leo is being opposed by Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto represents people in high places, in upper management, and they are focused on the future because that very slow-moving planet has just changed into Aquarius, which rules the future. So this could represent people who really have their eyes on the future, or really have their eyes on things that are ahead of their time, or new things. And so these 2 planets are opposing each other, and they are both being squared heartily by 2 other planets in Taurus, which are conjunct today tightly. And they are Jupiter, which is at 21 degrees of Taurus, and it is conjuncting Uranus, a planet of volatility and sudden surprising change, at 22 degrees of Taurus. So they are squaring that moon in Leo, and they are squaring Pluto in Aquarius as well. And all 4 of these planets are also squaring and opposing the sign of Scorpio, the 4th fixed sign, which is a financial sign. So if you could be thinking a little bit more about less is more, this would be a good time to do that, because there can be circumstances, particularly financial circumstances, that can threaten your peace of mind right now due to these 4 planets in fixed signs that are in harsh aspect to each other. And so, for instance, Leo rules gambling. And so big gambles are not paying off right now for one reason or another. And so that means that if you have taken a big gamble on something, you may not be enjoying the returns that you were expecting right now. And there could also be resulting higher expenses or costs connected to that in one way or another. And you'd have to start thinking about less is more, because you might have to try to pay off those gambles in one way or another. And that could be prohibitive. But also, Leo rules extravagance. And so this is a time, with the moon being opposed by Pluto and squared by Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, that extravagance, or people who have been extravagant, could be regretting that right now, because they possibly could be thinking of less is more, because extravagance has a high cost to it too. And so what would that affect? Well, that would certainly affect people who had been taking gambles, because they may not be in a very good position either to pay off the gamble, or it can be simply that there can be extra costs connected to that, and they could be wondering where they're going to get the money for that to keep it going. So there could be the high cost of expensive travel right now, or there could be the high cost of risky gambles, or there could be the high cost of startup ventures, which require more and more money to be put into them before they can pay off. And so those higher expenses and higher costs and higher taxes at this time of the year can be having a very detrimental effect on the budgets of individuals, particularly wealthy individuals, or it can be having or on all of us, or a detrimental effect on the budgets of government agencies, large corporations, and institutions as well. And so that is why less is more right now. If there was a way that you could sort of stretch a dollar, or you could cut your expenses in some way, that would be very good for you. And this is a time when I think we're all going to have to start thinking about that. Because inflation didn't go away, high taxes are here to stay, and the cost of living is just going up and up. And it affects everyone, rich and poor. So we need to make choices and start thinking of less is more. And there's another reason for that as well, because there can be a lot of stress that is put on people who have been too extravagant or who are not able to see their big gambles pay off right now, or who have indulged in expensive travel or risky future ventures. And the reason why there can be problems with that, additional problems with that, is because there are two planets that are very tightly conjuncting each other right now, and they are in Pisces. And they are two malefic planets, Mars and Saturn, which are tightly conjunct in Pisces, which rules things that are hidden behind the scenes, or hidden enemies, or even our hidden doubts and fears, the things that bother us a lot. But because Mars is a planet of energy and aggression and even war, and it is conjuncting Saturn, and so and these are two malefic planets, it means there could be a pretty big argument right now, or there could be some explosion or blow up right now that had been a long time coming. It could be done in a way to make it look like it was an accident, but it could actually have been rather well planned or premeditated in one way or another. And so there's danger around, and we would not see it coming. It would be behind the scenes. And because we would not see it coming, we could all be sort of surprised by that, and particularly because there might be so much thrust connected to a heated argument, or even warlike conditions, or somebody's very stubborn attitude right now. There's so much of that behind the scenes going on that it could make for a very dangerous time right now. And so you still need to keep your guard up. Not just because you need to watch your money a little bit more closely and maybe trim your costs, but you need to keep your guard up against things that you are not suspecting could happen, that could be happening behind the scenes, but could have a rather detrimental effect on you. And not just on your budget, but on your life. And so you need to be careful about that. However, if you could possibly start thinking about less is more, and if you could trim your budgets in a way, and if whole countries could do that, or large companies, or institutions, or government agencies, if they could just cut the spending down and the costs, and cut down the high expenses. We don't all have to do everything and have everything right now. It would be more prudent if you could cut your costs and trim your budgets, that not only what you really want to do or what you want to focus on or whatever your primary concern is, maybe you could still continue with that, or with some sort of new partnership, or some way to go forward. But you'd have to do it by already cutting costs or cutting budgets or just cutting out a few things in your life, so that your partnerships, your new partnerships, or your primary goals could thrive. So you could still make it. Something could work out well. We just had a solar eclipse in Aries, which is a sign of new beginnings. But you'd have to do some cost cutting somewhere. Everyone will have to. So if you could just keep thinking that less is more, because if you had less to pay for, you wouldn't have to worry about the bills. And that could take a lot of pressure off you. And then if you just lived a little more simply, that would be fine. We don't have to have everything right now. The year's still ahead of us. Things can change. But for right now, people are going to have to cut back. And if you adopt the policy that less is more, and you're willing to cut back or cut down on something, I think that you actually could still go forward on your goals. You might have to do it a little more prudently, or maybe a little more slowly, but you could still go forward. And that's the point of the whole solar eclipse from last week. So I hope you think about that less is more now. Less worry. will give you more peace. Think of it that way. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. Well, Aries, I'm particularly talking to you because, you know, you just had a great solar eclipse in your sign, and there are a lot of planets still in your sign, Aries. The moon isn't there anymore, but the sun is, and so is retrograde Mercury, and so is Venus. And those 3 planets in your sign, Aries, are all trining the moon today in Leo. So you may feel like wanting to be extravagant, and I don't think it's going to get you anywhere, Aries. You too, even though you're not in the mood to do that. And a sun-moon trine is excellent. So you could be attracting people who want to spend money or have big ideas, and they sort of wish they had the big money to go with it. And you could be excited about that, Aries. But I urge you to think about the fact that less is more right now. Or I urge you to go more slowly on something. Mercury is retrograde in your sign still, so you could be thinking of doing something new that is connected to an old idea that you've had for a while. Well, nothing wrong with that. It's just that I urge you to still keep your guard up and be more careful. But with 4 planets and fire signs all trining each other, you may feel like you've just got a second wind or a burst of energy, and you want to go ahead and do things your way, and someone else could be quite enthusiastic about that too. But why don't you look at the proposed bottom line first, Aries? Because, you know, you got to ask yourself if you can afford it. And there is the possibility, since Jupiter and Uranus are right ahead of your sun sign, and they are tightly conjuncting, but they are under duress because the moon in Taurus in Leo is squaring them, and Pluto in Aquarius is also squaring them. It means that, you know, the value of people's investments could suddenly fluctuate and go up and down because Uranus is such a volatile planet. And so you could be looking at what you think is good money coming in the door, or you could be wanting to take a gamble. You know, that moon's in Leo, and Leo rules gambling. But I wouldn't do it, Aries. I think that you should try to be a little bit more prudent, because in addition, Saturn and Mars and Neptune are all in Pisces right behind your sun sign, and Saturn and Mars are conjuncting. They're up to no good. So in the background of your life, there is an explosive or a possibly explosive situation or angry confrontation that is possible, and you would be vulnerable. Everyone would be, because we wouldn't see it coming. And so, you know, behind the scenes, you need to be very, very careful. You cannot assume that the whole world has the same rosy outlook that you have, Aries, because people just have to think a little bit more about less is more. So cut your plans down to the size of your budget, Aries, and try to live within that, because I think you'll be happier. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when you can be feeling the pressure in one way or another, and I think you definitely can be feeling the pressure connected with, say, the high cost of expensive travel, or with some sort of risky gamble that you've either taken or you're contemplating, or that the fluctuation in the value of your investments can be a little bit unsettling. You may not be too sure if they're going to stay up or if they're going to go down. And so I wouldn't count on that completely, Taurus. And so with the moon in Leo squaring your sun and Pluto in Aquarius squaring your sun, I would say that new future ventures are going to be problematic at this time. In other words, somebody else wants to do, who knows what they're doing. They're sort of in a position of power and knows what they're doing. They want to do it their way, and they've got their eyes on the future. And Taurus is a fixed sign. Well, so is Aquarius, Leo, and Scorpio. And so, Taurus, you may feel a little safer sticking to what you already know how to do without attempting anything new. And that's not a bad idea right now, Taurus, because the moon in Leo is also squaring your sun, and Jupiter and Uranus in your sign. And that means that there's somebody else around that has extravagant ideas. But Taurus is pretty careful with their money. And they like nice things. They don't mind paying a high price for something that's really worth it. But this is a very good time for you to think about less is more. In other words, you should cut your costs, not increase them. And you should maybe cut down any expensive plans that you have right now and try to develop your plans in a more frugal way, or just taking fewer steps, going a little bit more slowly. That would be a good idea. Because remember, there is this element of danger behind the scenes that nobody can quite see until it happens. In other words, until it's too late. So I wouldn't take any risk right now, Taurus. There's 4 planets in the fixed signs, and they're all in harsh aspect to each other, and yours is a fixed sign. So if I were you, I would step back a little bit and try to think that less is more. Less activity, less money, less big plans, because they would have expenses connected to them, even unforeseen expenses. And how would you pay for those, Taurus? And so it's time to sort of slow down or step back or think that less is more. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is a time, Gemini, when still you have the moon in Aquarius trining your sun, which is great. That simply means that somebody in a position of power, or somebody who is influential, possibly in upper management somewhere, likes you and likes your style, or is willing to back you, Gemini. That's great. They're going to be doing that for years, Gemini, because Pluto's going to be in Aquarius trining your sun for years. That's nice. And Geminis like to do 2 of everything because they are multifaceted. And Gemini does rule the twins, or 2 of everything. And so, Gemini, this is when you could be making 2 different plans for the future, and somebody else could be pretty much in favor of that. They could think that that was all right, because that Pluto in Aquarius is trining your sun. But you have bigger fish to worry about, Gemini. And the reason why is that there are 3 planets in Pisces, Neptune, and then Mars and Saturn, which are tightly conjuncting each other, and they are all squaring your sun. And that simply means that you must try to sort of think right now about less is more, or try not to do everything that you want, or pay for everything that you want right now. Even if you have the money, I would put a few things off right now, Gemini, because of the unexpected. Because Mars and Saturn, 2 malefic planets, are squaring your sun. And they're up to no good. And whatever malady could be coming your way would be hidden behind the scenes. And so there is the possibility, even if you don't think you have an enemy in the world, you could still be a person that is the target for somebody else who may be jealous behind the scenes, or envious, or simply want to grab something you've got, or a good idea that you already have. So I would keep my guard up real high right now, Gemini. And if less is more, that's okay. Doesn't have to be forever. Jupiter is leaving Taurus next month and is coming into your sign on May 26th. And your whole life is going to expand, Gemini. It's going to be great for you. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to have everything right now. And if you were a little bit more patient and played a waiting game, you might actually deflect yourself from being a target by an enemy behind the scenes. So I would lay low a little bit right now, Gemini. It wouldn't hurt you at all. And somebody who really knows what they're doing is in your camp. They do like what you're saying or what you're doing, or the skills that you've already developed. And so there's going to be an expansion, and it may be because of the favor that you could receive by this person. But I would still lay low right now. Just be a little bit more careful if you can. And think of less is more. It wouldn't be less for too long, but if you wanted to spend between now and May 26th, when Jupiter comes into your sign, just being a little bit more patient and a little bit more cautious, that would not be a bad idea. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, particularly when Jupiter comes into your sun sign for a whole year, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer. This is a time, Cancer, when I think that since the title of the show is Less is More, you would probably agree with that. Your sign rules thrift, Cancer, and it rules recycling. A Cancer can find a second use for almost anything, and they're very good at that. So they save everything. You know, a Cancer would even save string, or they would save something that isn't being used, and they would later on find some new way to use it. And so recycling really works for you, Cancer. And being thrifty and frugal, well, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's because your sign rules the last half of life. And, you know, I think that Cancers are much happier in the last half of life than they are when they're growing up. And that is because they sort of come into their own in the last half of life. They're more sure of what they're doing or what they want or how they operate, and that is good. And so that's somewhat a blessing right now for you, Cancer, because there are 2 planets, well actually there's 3 planets trining your sun. Trine is a good aspect, and they are Neptune, Mars, and Saturn in Pisces. But Mars and Saturn are tightly conjuncting, and they're up to no good because they're both malefic planets, and Pisces rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. Now the fact that Neptune, the ruler of the sign, is there is very good because it also represents the highest ideals of a Pisces, and usually their dreams. And so, and miracles. Pisces rules miracles. And so there is the possibility, Cancer, that since the idea of less is more is very agreeable to your nature, particularly if you're in the last half of life, you would know how to make things stretch a little bit, or make your money work for you a little bit better, or how to be a little bit more thrifty or frugal. So if budgets had to be cut down, or your plans had to be scaled back a little bit, that would be all right with you. Because I think you would know that in some way or other, you could still make something work. And you could. But what you cannot really foresee is what kind of trouble is going to be coming out of this very tight conjunction of Mars and Saturn in Pisces. You could see who your enemies are right now because these planets trine your sun. But you may not be able to stop what they're thinking of. Because what they're thinking of is they're doing that behind the scenes. You could see, or you could, you know, Cancers understand what's going on almost without people describing it too much. They sort of have a good feeling for people's emotions, even their hidden emotions, because your emotions are ruled by your sign. So you may understand how other people feel, even if they have malicious intent in one way or another. But you may not be able to stop them from doing that. And so the best defense would be for you to keep your guard up and to be more cautious and to think that less is more. And you would be absolutely right about that. And also, Cancer, if you just sort of keep following your natural inclinations to be pretty steady, pretty careful, pretty cautious about things, I think that a new beginning, even if it's been delayed for a very long time, if it involves a precious dream of yours, it could still come true. It's just you'd have to keep your guard up for the other people that may know about that or suspect that you're thinking of a precious dream. They could want to delay that new beginning, or they may want to hurt somebody else. And so you would need to be very careful and discreet right now. And that's because none of us knows if there's going to be a big argument or another war or an explosion. But by the time it happens, it's going to be too late to stop it. And that's why you need to keep your guard up right now. And you may not be hurt in the end because of these planets trine your sun. But you don't want to ask for trouble either, Cancer. And so less is more. If you have been doing some expensive traveling, or you've been taking some gambles, or you are backing a risky future venture that hasn't really quite paid off, you would need to cut some costs right now, just like everybody else. But I don't think that it's forever. And also, you would be much more financially secure if you paid off debts, or you didn't take out a loan, or you just were real careful with what you've got. Cancers always have a little bit more than people think, and they can fall back and rely on that when they need to. And so I would do that, Cancer, if I were you. That would be sort of a safe way to get through a time that behind the scenes can be dangerous, and you may even sort of understand what's going on, but you may not be able to stop it if it happens. And so that's why you need to keep your guard up. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, you could be a little ball of fire right now because, gee, the moon is in your sign today, and the sun retrograde Mercury and Venus in Aries are all trining that moon in your sun. So there are 4 planets in the fire signs, and they're all trining the sign of Sagittarius as well. So you may be thinking about an expensive trip that you want to go on, or you could certainly be excited about some new beginning that you want to make or somebody else wants to make, and there could be a sort of a working out of past ideas and a settling in on what the plan is right now, either your plan or somebody else's plan. And so you could sort of see a way to go forward. The solar eclipse did you a world of good, Leo. You certainly are aspected to make a new beginning, and I think that you have the enthusiasm for that right now. But do you have the money? That's a big, good question that all of us have to ask right now. And that's because your sign rules extravagance. And I would say that since Pluto in Aquarius is opposing that moon in your sign, it means that somebody in authority, and it could be even the head of a country, or a big organization, or a large corporation, or a government agency or institution, and either they or the policies that they are backing right now do not agree with what you want to do, Leo. But you are so enthusiastic and so well aspected to make a new beginning. I would try to cut your budget down or cut your plans into smaller segments that are more affordable without a high price tag on them and move forward anyway. Leo, you can do that, and you can find somebody to help you do that. You know, Venus is trining your sun. So that's all good. But actually, Jupiter and Uranus are closely conjunct and squaring the moon in your sign, and they're squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And that means the future plans, big future plans, are threatened a little bit, and they can be threatened by either financial policies or just the fact that the value of assets can be going up and down. And so nobody knows if they can count on a certain amount of money in the future. And if you were deciding to be real practical, I don't think you feel like that right now, Leo, because you're so set on making a new beginning, and you could do it. You could be successful making a new beginning. I am just suggesting that you cut it down into smaller steps. And those steps may or may not take a little bit longer, but you're under wonderful aspects to succeed at a new beginning. It just might not be in the time schedule that you're thinking of, not because you're not talented and you can go forward, but because there can be an uncertainty in financial conditions around you. And if everyone's just started thinking that less is more and cut down on debt and loans and any high expenses right now, they would be a lot better off. And then they can still go forward. So, Leo, I know you don't like to stop spending money because your sign rules extravagance, but I would try to do that right now if I were you, and slow down a little bit with the spending of the money, but not with your plans for a new beginning. You should be going straight forward with that. It's just, in putting together a new beginning, there's a whole lot of things that don't cost money. And right now, I think is a good time, since this harsh square is in fixed signs and adversely affecting your sign, challenging it a lot, particularly financially. I would just go forward with a new beginning, but do things that require planning and contact with others and communication. You know, those things that don't really cost any money, but it sort of involve just doing the work. If you could do that, Leo, and not spend money right now, you'd still be successful in your new beginning. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, when you can be thinking that you wish you had more money, but that you're not certain any more than anyone else is of the stability of your investments. And that can be because Jupiter and Uranus are conjuncting each other, and they're beautifully trining your sun, Virgo, and they're both direct. And they're tightly trining your sun. Jupiter's at 21 degrees, Uranus is at 22 degrees. This means that you could have a sudden windfall right now, Virgo. That would be nice. But it also means that you may have accompanying expenses connected with it. In other words, if you sold a piece of property, you'd have taxes on that. Or if you bought a piece of property, you would have further expenses on that. Do you see, there's all kinds of hidden expenses that go along with spending money. And so you may have the money, but I would be a little bit more careful about what you do with it right now, Virgo. and I would hang on to it if I were you. You can spend it later. It's just that Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus are being squared by the moon in Leo today, which is right behind your sun sign, and by Pluto in Aquarius. And the planets in Taurus are going to continue to be squared by Pluto in Aquarius for years. 17 to 20 years, that's going to be going on. And Pluto is it's a slow planet, but a very powerful one because it rules psychological transformation and change and deep truth. And power. The power of small things that make a difference. The power of truth and the facts behind it and the facts that lead up to it. And so you need to be a little bit more careful, Virgo, now. Not because you don't know what you're doing, but because conditions around you are subject to fluctuation and change. So even if there is some more money coming in to you, which there could be additional expenses connected with it. And so I wouldn't do anything with that money. Hang on to it if you get some money right now, Virgo. Sort of sit on it, like you want to hatch a little egg that could pay off later on. Well, why not think about that? Because there could be something unforeseen that could threaten you right now. And that is because Mars and Saturn are in Pisces, tightly conjuncting each other. They're up to no good. Neptune is there as well. And all three of them are opposing your sun sign, which they have been doing ever since Mars and Saturn went into Pisces. And Saturn's been there for a while, and so is Neptune. But Mars rather recently went in, and that could be causing you a lot of problems right now. And they're the kind of problems you can't even see coming. They're from sneaky people. Or they're from people who do not have your best interest at heart. Even if you know them well, they don't have your best interest at heart. And they could be planning an angry confrontation or some sort of explosion or upset. And surprise, you'd be just about the last person to know, Virgo. And, you would not, unless you keep your defenses up right now, you would not be very well prepared to escape the harm that could come right about now. And that's why you need to be extremely cautious. And if money's coming your way, I'd hang on to it if I were you. Really hang on to it. Don't fall for anybody else's sob story right now. Just try to be somewhere else if somebody's trying to put the touch on you. And just be as quiet as you can, Virgo. And I think there is more money coming to you, but I'd keep it real quiet right now. Remember, less is more. And the less part of it is the expenses and the overhead and the high cost of living today. We have to cut down on that a little bit. And then we'll have more time to enjoy the simple pleasures of our life. And that's all right. You can do that too. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time when you can be, I hope, preparing almost to move in higher circles. In other words, you may be making some sort of a change in your life, Libra, and it could involve a parting of the ways, because last week's solar eclipse opposed your sun sign, and you had a lunar eclipse in your sun sign 2 weeks before that. And a lunar eclipse always means one woman goes and another woman comes sometime in the next 6 months. But the solar eclipse in Aries really opposed your sun, meaning that there's going to be a parting of the ways somewhere in your life, Libra. It might be that you're making it. It might be that you're deciding to move on, or that you want to try new things. Or maybe you have the backing of somebody pretty powerful, and you're thinking of developing and changing your future plans to work on something that is sort of ahead of its time. Or work on something where the power of truth is primary, and you can face it, and you can be wanting to be involved with it. Nothing wrong with that. Pluto in Aquarius is trining your sun, and it's going to do that for years. And so, Libra, you could also be sensing that better days are ahead, or the best is yet to come. You'd sure be right about that, because Jupiter is leaving Taurus next month, and going into Gemini, and it's going to start trining your sun for a whole year. That's good for you. Your life will expand, Libra, and that's what I think you're getting ready for now. And if it involves a parting of the ways in one way or another, it only represents something that you may have outgrown. Well, what's wrong with that? We're all supposed to keep growing. So you could be moving on to newer things. Nothing wrong with that. And I would urge you to keep going in that direction, Libra. And the reason why is that there is a whopper of a solar eclipse in your sign in October. And I'm telling you, you got to get there. You have to be prepared to have your life expand. But it may be in a way that is different than what you have experienced in the past. And that's fine. Because if you stop to think about it, Libra, nobody can go back to the past. Because time moves on, and we've got to move with it. We don't have yesterday. We have tomorrow. All of us have tomorrow. And that's what you just got to keep going for, Libra. So I hope you don't waver. And by the end of next month, when Jupiter comes into Gemini and trines your sun, you're going to be glad that you took some new steps in a new direction. Even if there is a parting of the ways, that's only going to free you up to go forward into something much better. And it could come into your life anytime from June on, but certainly no later than October, when the solar eclipse hits your sign. And it's a real good one. It's good for everybody, actually. Really good for you. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Scorpio. This is a time, Scorpio, when yours is the only fixed sign that doesn't have a planet in it. And so your sign is receiving the horrible frustration and challenges of 4 planets in the other 3 fixed signs, the Moon in Leo, Pluto in Aquarius, and Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, all dumping their frustration and their challenges into your sign. And what does your sign rule, Scorpio? Money. But it rules money management. And so the title of the show is Less is More. You may be facing conditions that are so prohibitively expensive that you know something's got to be cut out. And that's because the Moon in Leo is squaring your sun. That means that there can be extravagance around, that even if you agreed to pay for it before, you're not agreeing to that now. And other people would find that extravagance is way too costly now. And so, I'd pull back on that if you've been extravagant, Scorpio. And that Pluto in Aquarius is squaring your sun, meaning that risky future ventures can be very expensive, or else somebody wants to take the reins of power even out of your hands and go forward and do things their way. And that could be prohibitively expensive, particularly if you've signed a financial contract with them. And if they are responsible for making the costs go up, you might end up paying for that. So less is more right now, Scorpio. And then Jupiter is tightly conjuncting Uranus in Taurus, but opposing your sun sign. And Uranus rules sudden surprising change. And so the value of your investments could go up, or they could go down, or it could be somebody else's investments. And what if they went down? And somebody wanted to keep living an extravagant lifestyle, so they came to you for a loan. Well, your sign rules credit, debt, taxes, loans, inheritance, insurance, grants. You're such a good money manager. Scorpios are generally never out of money. They've got it somewhere. And so you could be a target right now, Scorpio, since there's nothing in your sign, for other people that either want to keep being extravagant or have pretty expensive ideas they want you to pay for, or simply that they want you to back expensive investments that aren't paying off right now, or gambles that aren't paying off. And so you could really be the target for an easy touch right now, Scorpio. Scorpios are usually not easy touches, but you're facing a lot of challenges. And so if you stepped back and you decided, no, less is more. So let's cut the extravagance, let's cut the high overhead of future ventures that we're not certain about, or let's sell a few things that are costing too much right now in upkeep or expenses or taxes. I think that that should be the focus of your own thinking, Scorpio. But I think you're going to get bombarded by a lot of other people. Okay, so that's only part of the story. It's a big part of the story, but it's only part of it. The other part of it is that Neptune, Mars, and Saturn, two malefic planets which are conjuncting each other, are all three trining your sun, so that you can see who an enemy or a potential enemy could be. And you could even understand their malice or their greed. And in other words, you could see why they might be destructive right now. So you could see an enemy, Scorpio, and so could Cancer, because the planets in Pisces trine Cancer and Scorpio. But on the other hand, if something happens very unexpectedly, like a big argument or a big confrontation or some sort of war that suddenly breaks out, it would be too late to stop it, wouldn't it, Scorpio? And so if you can see who your enemies are, it may be more prudent of you to step back and not have anything to do with them. You know, cut ties. And it may even be to people that you'd had ties with before. But the world has changed, and less really is more right now. It means that you have to have less debt, and hopefully pay less taxes, and have less expensive travel or costs, and certainly less upkeep. If you own things that require an awful lot of money to keep them up, you might think about cutting that down, or just putting things away a little bit that you're not using right now, so they don't require more upkeep. So anyway, Scorpio, you have to think about less is more, because you are really an excellent money manager. And when times become financially uncertain or overblown and extravagant, that really isn't your style. Scorpio is ruled by the number 8. And the number 8 is the sign of a very good business person, somebody who is generally the president of something, head of their own organization. And they like being that, and they like being responsible for others underneath them. And that includes using their good money management skills for that reason, for that good purpose. And so if you see that financially things have gotten a little out of whack for costs, or whatever, you'll have to find a way to cut the costs or reduce debt or just say no to some people. And that is simply so that you can do your best. That's so you can keep going. And Scorpios are best when they are managing money. You know, Virgos, they watch every penny. But Scorpios, they sort of see down the road. And they're really good at that. And Scorpio rules survival. So this is a time when you need to think less is more, Scorpio, because it is. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, you have 4 planets trining your sun right now. So do you have your mind on an expensive trip, Sagittarius? You might, because your sign rules long-distance travel. And today the moon in Leo, which rules extravagance, is trining your sun. And the sun and Mercury and Venus in Aries are also trining your sun. So you could have somebody around you that wants to start something new or talk you into starting something new. And, you know, they would be very agreeable people. Or they would have a great idea. Or there could be some party you want to go to, or a summer concert that you want to attend, or, as I said, travel that you want to do, or you could be involved in higher education or making plans for that. And I would say that you would be very successful at that right now, Sagittarius. So as far as your plans go, I think that they could go forward because you'd sort of have help with them in one way or another. Because the planets in the other fire signs are all trining your sign. You don't have anything in your sign, but you sure have a lot of backup right now, Sagittarius, which is great. You should take advantage of that. Sort of, you know, talk to other people, mix and mingle right now. You don't know what's going to come out of that, but it would be very favorable for you. Whatever the result would be, it would be very favorable right now. And I think that you should do that. You should reach out to others right now, Sagittarius. And why is that? because Mars and Saturn are conjuncting each other in Pisces, Neptune is there as well, and all three of them square your sun. And the trouble in the month of April is coming from Mars and Saturn conjuncting in a sign that rules things behind the scenes or hidden or covert activities. And so if there were to be an explosion or something horrible that happens, nobody could stop it. It would happen. And it would be coming from behind the scenes. No one would see it coming. And Pisces rules omissions and deceptions as well. And there could even be somebody who's sort of spinning a story of how a terrible argument or a confrontation is somebody else's fault, when actually they premeditated the whole thing and intended to do it themselves. But they could even pretend they're the victim when actually they were the perpetrator. So they're lying. But nobody would be able to stop that. And that's what you need to be really careful about, Sagittarius. Because there's somebody around that wants to create chaos or arguments or confrontations. You're not causing it, Sagittarius. But it could land in your lap if you don't keep your guard up. And that's why I would be, watch where you walk. Don't do anything risky. Don't be around other people that have exhibited risky behavior before, because they could erupt. Even if you weren't their target, you could tend to be their victim accidentally. It could happen. And that's why you need to be real careful right now. Less is more. And so it's somewhat of a temporary thing, but you need to sort of shut down a little bit, Sagittarius. And you can talk to a lot of people about future plans, because you're aspected to benefit from talking and conversing with others. But you don't have to be around them all at this time. You might be a little bit more careful about keeping your distance. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time, Capricorn, when I think that you can see things happening around you, but they may not be happening to you, Capricorn. And you should count yourself lucky if that is the case. And the reason why is that both Jupiter and Uranus, which are conjuncting, are trining your sun, which means you could be ending up with a big financial surprise that would be very pleasing to you, Capricorn. Or even if the value of your investments fluctuated right now, sort of up one day and down the next, they would not necessarily hurt you in the long run. Some volatility, financial volatility right now, that would not necessarily put a dent in your budget in the long run, because these planets trine your sun. So you're lucky. You're also lucky to be, if you're in a position where you're receding in your activities a little bit, maybe you have some work that you really have to catch up on, you can't put that off any longer. Believe it or not, this would be a very good time for you to do that. To sequester yourself, or just sort of buckle down and catch up to things that need to be done right now. And that would somewhat limit your activities with other people, wouldn't it, Capricorn? But maybe you should do that, because it's not a safe world. And it's your ruler, Saturn, that is being tightly conjuncted by Mars in Pisces. They sextile your sun. But that isn't enough to save anybody from a big argument or a confrontation or a sudden war or sudden accident that occurs. Because it would be impossible to stop. And somebody could even be lying about it. The perpetrator could be saying, "Oh, I'm the victim," when actually they planned it. And so if you did settle down to just catching up on little things that you've got to do, or getting a little bit more rest right now, or just going over your budget a little bit more, less is more, is what I'm saying, Capricorn. And it's perfect for you right now. Less is more. And so even if you had big plans and they were expensive and you wanted to do them this month, it would be wiser of you to cut that down right now and step back and try to do a little less, or else just try to stay at home a little bit more. And the reason why is that way you can escape what's happening around you that you can't control anyway. And so why not be out of it, Capricorn? Nothing wrong with that. So this is a good time to sort of catch up on things that you've been putting off or not doing right now are, you know, the things that aren't any fun. Believe it or not, that could be the safest thing for you to do right now, Capricorn. So I hope you buckle down and do that. You won't be missing a thing, and in particular, you may not be missing some angry confrontation or danger. And that's what you want to escape anyway. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time, Aquarius, since yours is a fixed sign, when you can be threatened in one way or another. And how would that be? Well, Pluto is in your sign right now, Aquarius. It's going to be there for years to come. And even when it goes retrograde, it's still always going to be coming back into your sign. And stay that way. And so Pluto is a very good planet to have in a person's sign because it emphasizes the growth of power. And it can be the power of truth. And so Aquarius, it's in your sign now, which is great for you because it means that the experience that you've had and the skill level that you're at and the ideas that you have for the future are all going to, you may be able to realize and be successful in a lot more of those things than you think in the next 17 to 20 years. You will come into your own power. But right now it's being threatened because the moon in Leo today is opposing your sun sign, which means somebody else who has sort of extravagant tastes and wants to be the boss and wants to be the leader and thinks pretty well of themselves and their ideas, can be wanting either you to pay for their extravagance or they can be wanting to have things so much their own way that it's getting in the way of your future plans. It's like not compatible. And so, sure, they may want to be doing a lot of things their own way, but you'll have to face the truth about something right now, Aquarius, and understand that it's your truth that counts because you're the one that's got your eyes on tomorrow. And also, you're going into tomorrow, which is what your sign rules anyway. You are really coming in more to your own in the next 17 to 20 years. And possibly people that you've been having good times with and doing things with in the past, they're not going to be your style in the future. Possibly because they want too many things their own way. And that they don't have the future vision that you have. So they don't share your vision. And so you're coming up against that right now, Aquarius, but I wouldn't worry about that too much because it's you that's got the powerful planet in your sign, and it is going to be trined by Jupiter in Gemini by the end of next month. And then the solar eclipse in Libra in October is also going to be trining your sign at the same time that Jupiter's trining it. Your life's going to change this year, Aquarius. And it's possible that you can be looking at problems that you've got in your life right now, particularly with people that are, even if they were enjoyable company at one time, they lack your vision, and they're spendy. They like to spend money. And you may want to save some money right now and develop a good idea first and go forward. And risky future gambles would not be your style right now. Even if they had been in the past, they're not your style now. And then Jupiter and Uranus, your own ruler in Taurus, which are exactly conjuncting each other, are also squaring Pluto in your sign. And that means the value of your investments can fluctuate right now, or you are not too sure that the financial promises that other people make are going to be kept. And so it is not wise of you to rely on anybody else right now to solve your financial problems if you have them. It's just think about less is more. You know, maybe you don't have to spend as much money right now. Maybe you can do more things that are pleasurable to you and don't cost money. They're just fun. Or you can do things that help you develop your ideas and they don't cost money, but they need development. So this is a good time to do that, Aquarius. Your life is really going to expand in as short a time as by the end of next month when Jupiter comes in to trine your sun. You're going to have a great summer, but an even better fall. So keep your eyes focused on the future, and if somebody else is wanting you to do things their way, the way they've always done in the past, you will have to cut ties. And it is because the real truth is you're the one that's going to rise, not them. Okay? And so what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. This is a time, Pisces, when I think that, Pisces is a double-bodied mutable sign. Pisces people are very nice, and they have sympathy for everybody. And your sign rules miracles. And I think the basis for all miracles is love. And a Pisces can have a sort of a self-sacrificing universal love that other people can take advantage of. And it can sort of be happening to you, Pisces, in a way that may involve something that you don't agree with anymore, or you don't want to partake in. And that is because Mars and Saturn are conjuncting in your sign. But your own ruler, Neptune, is also in your sign. They have no backup. There's nothing in the other water signs. And so you can be facing a problem right now, Pisces. But I think it's a problem that you can see. And I think the problem is being caused by others. Or it could be that they have had an influence upon you that has resulted in a problem that you're dealing with now. And I would say that either you have got to understand that you are not really the whole cause of a problem, but that you have been perhaps influenced by others who were able to manipulate you in some way. It could even be in a sort of a poor me way. Oh, poor me, you have to do things my way because, oh, I'm not to blame for anything, you are. You know, like a sad sob story. Well, you may have heard that so many times that you're not even listening anymore, Pisces. And you could be right, because somewhere in your life there's a big phony. There may be two of them, because your sign is a double-bodied sign. And if they have influence over you, you will have to escape it before it destroys you, Pisces. I mean, ask yourself, how can I do the most good in life? Pisces are really interested in that. They have good hearts. And they have sort of a universal vision of goodness. And if you asked yourself, how can I do the most good going forward in my life? The number one thing that you would have to do in order to do that good is to cut out the bad, or cut out things that are harmful, or say goodbye to people that are manipulating you or taking advantage of you. Because you know who they are. You know how they do it. And perhaps you have just lived with that. But where did it ever get you, Pisces? So you've got to try to come and rise to your very best. And do your best. So what is the best? The best is what can heal others and solve problems in the world. And help others rise above their problems in some way. And it would be a way that you would have a skill at, or know a lot about. See, even if you wanted to do a miracle, you're just one person, and you'd have to fall back on your own talent to do it. That's what I'm saying you should do, Pisces, is, in 24 hours, how much of your day is spent, on people that are really not good for you, or manipulating you, or getting you to do their work for them. There's a lot of people around like that in every workplace. And, being a soft touch, which Pisces generally are a soft touch, they end up sort of doing that. And when are you going to have time to do your best? That's all I'm asking, Pisces. Because right now, there are other people that would even want to stop you from doing your best right now with Mars and Saturn conjuncting in your sign. That's sort of an evil influence. Or else it could make you very sick or very worried about something. And you must rise above and use your own talent to do it. Because you can. Pisces can be miracle workers. I think it's because they see so much good in others. That I think it's that they're almost too good to people that don't deserve it. But they don't ask if they deserve it or not, they're just good to them. And after a while, it just drains you of your own goodness. And then pretty soon you have to start asking yourself, well, who is my goodness benefiting? Is it really helping solve anything? Or are other people just using me to get what they want instead? Generally, Pisces doesn't even stop and ask that because they have generous hearts. But it's time, what's it doing to you, Pisces? Somewhere in your life something's hurting or doesn't fit because Mars is conjuncting Saturn in your sign. And of all the people that should keep their guard up, you are the #1 person that should do that because Mars and Saturn are conjuncting in your sign. And they're up to no good behind the scenes. And you got to be real careful where you walk or who you associate with, because either you could be the unwitting target of something, and somebody just aims and hits you, even if it's by accident. You could be the person that is walking in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you need to be very, very careful right now. Because less is more, because there isn't enough money around to do everything anymore. And people have to cut back. There's a whole lot of people that don't want to do that. Big spenders don't want to do that. People who like to take gambles don't want to do that. People who like everything extravagant and expensive don't want to do that. But survival is what it's all about right now, and that means less is more. And by less is more, what I mean is by cutting out some things in all of our lives, each one of us cutting some things out that either don't feel good or that we really can't afford, what is left could have a lot more meaning to us. Less is more, because it makes you concentrate on what's really good or what really makes you happy. And it cuts out the subterfuge of everything or the phoniness of everything else. Well, it's time we all did that. And particularly you, Pisces. So good luck. Your own ruler is in your sign. And it's the strongest planet in the heavens right now. So stick to your dreams. You can use enough of your good talent and your foresight and your wanting to do good. You can still do that for a precious dream and make it come true. But boy, you're going to have to climb a high mountain to make that happen. But if anybody can make a miracle happen, Pisces, it's you. So good luck. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show on my Karen Campbell YouTube channel, and if you'd like to subscribe and tell your friends about that, I'd really appreciate it. And you can also read a blog on my website, STARBORNinstitute.org, which helps explain the theme of the show every single week. So until then, I'll see you next week. Bye.